Hey, what if I told you making a podcast was a lot more easier than you think? And it's all thanks to Anchor. Anchor is a platform with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. They also distribute your podcast to multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you can get your podcast needs. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. You can find it at anchor.fm, anchor.fm, or you can even look it up on your mobile device app stores and find it that way to get started with your podcast today. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Views from the Mitten podcast. And we're just going to jump right into it today. Tim Tebow is back in the NFL. Yeah, Tim Tebow from Florida, Jets, Broncos, Patriots, Mets. Was there something else? I think I'm missing a team. But yeah, he's back in the NFL as a Jacksonville Jaguar. He tried out as a tight end, which is very, very weird, but kind of interesting. I think it was somebody else I've seen that tried out as a tight end, or maybe I'm getting confused, like a wide receiver. It was a random signing because I don't think anybody thought like Tim Tebow still wanted to even play football at this point because he retired from baseball and was a commentator for the past couple of years for college football, doing stuff with ESPN or whatever. And it was very random, but I don't think Tebow's that old. Tebow probably is like, in his 30s probably. He doesn't have anything to lose either, because the Jaguars are kind of really a young team at its core anyway. So it's really not that much pressure for them to really just, go to the moon this year or even next year, possibly, depending on even how long he plays as a member of this team. But Urban Meyer, obviously, is familiar with him. I think Urban Meyer coached him when he was at Florida. So familiarity there. You got a rookie quarterback like that you put a lot of stock into. Nice free agency period. They have Marvin Jones, so it's not like they're just out here targetless. DJ Shark. There's a lot to look forward to when you look at that offense. That Tebow probably isn't even going to have that much pressure on him. It was a little bit controversial because a lot of people were wondering how does Tim Tebow get a deal before Kaepernick, which I feel like that's just another topic for another day because it's beyond what I feel like it's beyond what it was listed as when it came to the whole Kaepernick situation, as far as like him not listening and a lot of other how his workouts was at another location that wasn't the one that the league actually picked. I feel like it's beyond that at this point. It's probably just a stalemate between both sides, honestly, from what I would probably imagine. It's more likely than not a stalemate between both sides. But I'm kind of glad Tebow gets another opportunity after, his quarterback run really, outside of the Broncos, his quarterbacking tenure in the NFL really wasn't that memorable. So it's pretty cool to see him kind of get back in the swing of things as a tight end this time, kind of taking that Terrell Pryor route where even though Terrell Pryor moved from quarterback to wide receiver, it's basically, you come back and it's a whole different like atmosphere as well from when Tebow was playing. So it might be a little bit more, not friendlier. Yeah, not I wouldn't say like friendlier, but just like a fresher atmosphere. He's back in Jackson. He's in Jacksonville, so he's back in the Florida atmosphere playing football again. Should bring back old memories for him. They should have a lot of fun out there playing as a relatively young team. Not really a lot of high expectations. Of course, people probably expect Trevor Lawrence to, show why he went number one, but you really don't got that much. You really don't have that much pressure on you to just go out and win a championship. It's just show up and be good. Which that's the main thing people need to worry about is if he'll be even good. Because the Kaepernick situation, I wouldn't bank on it too much. Well, I wouldn't harp on it too much unless he's actually like just terrible. Like if he just shows up at tight end and just can't, he's like a lackluster, not a lackluster catcher, but like he's an average catcher. He's lost a little bit of speed and he just doesn't fit. Like he can't block. Like there's a lot of things that I could look at or think about that they could be like, oh, like well Kaepernick can't get back in the league, but this guy does all this and it just doesn't work out. I guess that's the only way I can see like it really being like a major issue. It's still messed up because Kaepernick obviously is still very talented and could probably help out a couple of teams that still didn't get a quarterback from the draft. So it's all just a wait and see when it comes to how Tim Tebow does as a player. Kerryon Johnson, former Lions running back. Saying former is weird, but former Lions running back because he was waived by the Lions. And it's not really a surprise to me, at least, because I kind of already thought, based off of what we were doing in the offseason, he wasn't going to be in our future plans. DeAndre Swift was still on the roster, had a pretty good rookie season, in my opinion. Started off slow, ended pretty well. Ran the ball well, caught the ball exceptionally, not exceptionally, but caught the ball at a decent rate. Not as much as probably he did in college, but obviously it's 1 year, so what can you do? Signing Jamal Williams, who was a Packer the last season, makes a big difference, a huge difference actually, because it's just a change of pace between Kerryon, who was a power back, quote unquote, like through and through, but he's a power back. He really wasn't that fast. Jamal Williams like a mixture of both. So then we got Jamar Jefferson from the draft. There was a lot of new things going on in the backfield for us that Kerryon just probably wasn't going to be a part of. So, and then plus also with the injury issues that he had, really not being as healthy as he could have been, he did have some productive years of being a running back for the Lions. I want to say he had a really good rushing year for he was like the first Lion to get I want to say 100,000 yards. I'm probably wrong. Somebody can correct me. But he had a really good year on the ground a while back. So he obviously still has the potential to be I wouldn't say a starter, but like a nice third down back for an NFL team, which I think he is an Eagle as of the time of me making this. So it should be pretty interesting how he does in Philadelphia, with now Darius Slay being the second Lion to kind of grace the field of Philadelphia. Should be pretty cool. And then plus, sorry, hit a button on my keyboard, but just to finish that out, it should be pretty fun to see what type of role he has with the Eagles. From what I'm thinking, I think he's probably like their main back right now. Probably wrong, but I think he's their main running back. So should be fun. Hopefully he does well over there with them after being the Lion. And lastly, Aaron Rodgers, who very much adamantly is someone that people are waiting eagerly on to be moved or just to do something. We already know that he kind of wants out. It's been reported. It's not hidden anymore, or wasn't really hidden to begin with, and been building up. And now he kind of just wants out. And I think he said he's willing to sit. Who knows? He probably won't if nothing happens before preseason and training camp and all the other stuff. But the Raiders and the Broncos apparently really, really are like the guys that people are really the team that people are looking at as potential landing spots, or almost for sure landing spots, just because they have a quarterback that they can swap in return for Aaron Rodgers. So it's not just completely lopsided for the Packers, because obviously if you trade Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders, you'd want Derek Carr back in return. Or if you trade him to the Broncos, you'd want Drew Lock in return. Which, I don't know. I think I read something that the Broncos really are not looking forward to the idea of getting rid of Drew Lock. But if you don't want to trade Drew Lock, then what's the point of going after Aaron Rodgers? You know what I mean? It's you're basically saying you're in win now mode, or you're in a win now mentality. So wouldn't you want to put all your eggs in one basket with Aaron Rodgers? But at the same time, Drew Lock really isn't even that bad of a quarterback, which also was puzzling to where you kind of want to make big time moves, but you don't want to and you're getting rid of somebody who's kind of really not even hit his peak yet, where you can kind of just like try to ride the wave out and see if he actually like takes bigger steps this season and really see if you have like some potential there. With Aaron Rodgers, I mean, obviously you get a veteran, you get a Super Bowl winner, you get one of the better passers with pinpoint accuracy. But Drew Lock, I mean, not to say that Drew Lock is like the second coming of Peyton Manning or anything, but Drew Lock is not a bad quarterback. And I feel like you could, with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant, you have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of youth that obviously, it would look probably a little bit better with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, but it could still look pretty good with Drew Lock throwing the ball. So, and then with the Raiders, I mean, the Raiders probably have the better chance of getting Rodgers if the trade actually happens or when it happens. Them or the Niners, which is weird also because they just drafted Trey Lance. There's a lot of teams that are trying to be in win now, but they have quarterbacks that you kind of want to see what they do first before you just ship them to another location. I mean, of course they can do it rashly because they've done it before. Like it's not going to be anything totally out of the ordinary for them to just ship a guy somewhere after by not seeing him play. It's happened before, but I just can't wait for the trade to actually happen because obviously it's going to shake up a lot of stuff. Like the NFC is the NFC North. I almost got the division wrong, but the NFC North is kind of released from its shackles of Aaron Rodgers after if he does get moved, which means a lot of good things for the other teams in the division. I really don't care about any of the team but the Lions, but you know what I mean. It's like it's a pretty big relief for the NFC North if he does get traded, but it's also like a really like big upgrade in competition depending on what other division he gets moved to, like whether it be AFC or just another NFC division just on another side of the continent. So it should be pretty interesting what happens with discount double check over there in Green Bay. Next we're gonna talk about some NBA, some real interesting stuff going on in the NBA. Nikola Jokic, the center for the Denver Nuggets, having one of his best seasons as an NBA player right now, leading the Nuggets. I think the playoffs starts. I forgot when. I don't know when the playoffs actually start, but pretty much the Nuggets are in the playoffs. Don't know if they're good Jamal Murray back either. Still I have to look into that eventually before I make any rash decisions on like, oh, the Jamal Murray is coming back or isn't coming back. It's still up in the air. But Jokic has been having a very, very, very superstar-esque year. So much that, he's in the contention for MVP. Or, for some people, he is the MVP. So, yeah, you have a reporter in Nick Wright, who obviously is known for saying some really, really outlandish stuff. He said that, he's not a fan of the Nikola Jokic MVP adulation that he's getting right now. He basically said Jokic would be the worst MVP in the last 35 years. And I don't really... This is the problem I have with these statements. It's like, because the MVP award itself already has kind of turned into more or less popular. It's like popularity mixed with who has the best record. When it really, I mean, because it obviously is based off of who's leading their team to wins and playoff berths and seeding plays a factor. But it still also is about like who's really like, just playing really, really well. So it's hard. And I feel like they've lost the balance of like how you set it up to where, okay, we still reward the best player from the year, but we also reward the guy who's putting his team on his back, quote unquote, and really leading his team to the promised land. So it's really, I wouldn't say Jokic is one of the worst because, I mean, there's really, when it comes to MVP, you really can't say there's really a bad MVP. But some people say that they've been robbed of MVPs, I'd say. Like, people could say Steve Nash robbed Kobe of an MVP. Some people can say LeBron's been robbed of MVPs. There's always going to be like, oh, this guy should have got it, all that stuff. But to say he'd be the worst is a really big stretch, just because Jokic is actually one of the more diverse centers that the league has seen in recent years as well. A passing big that really just facilitates, has good vision, can still post up, play some decent defense. It's really, you can't go wrong with Jokic winning the award. And then he kind of doubled down some hours later or like a day later and tried to say that the Nuggets don't bring ratings by talking about them, which just is another low jab at the whole small market city stuff that people for some reason think is important. Like I don't see it's like with the Jazz. The Jazz are a hated team, obviously, but they're a small market as well. So a lot of people think that, oh, talking about the Utah Jazz doesn't bring money. Like who cares about Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell? When in all actuality, it's about the talent around the organization. It should be always about the talent around the organization. It shouldn't be, oh, they're located in Los Angeles, so that means they're like 10 times more important, because there's a lot of players that the Clippers have that, not even to offend anything, but there's a lot of players on the Clippers that you really don't care about, and that's just because you don't care about the player. It's not that you don't care about the city. It shouldn't be about the city. So all in all, I don't know. Jokic, I feel like Jokic is the MVP in my opinion. From what I've been seeing, it's been a two-man race really between him and Embiid, because they've really been taking their game to the next level. I see some Chris Paul stuff. A lot of people say Steph Curry, actually, because Steph's having a really crazy year as well. I'm gonna get to that later. But Jokic really doesn't. Jokic's been getting not like a lot of slander, but that kind of just came out of left field that I kind of had to discuss, because Jokic is one of the better bigs, and he's a top 5 center in the league right now on all aspects of the game. So for that to even be spouted, it's just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. But speaking of teams with like top centers, with like Anthony Davis being on the Lakers are, as of now, playing bound, because there was a lot of teams that got wins or just shuffled up the board a little bit, and they're playing the Warriors in the play-in tournament that starts today. Actually, I think it starts today. So it's one of those things where I feel they should be worried about it. A lot of people probably don't, which I wouldn't blame them, because it's still like, if you have a healthy LeBron and AD combination, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna win that game and have a pretty successful playoff run, depending on it's all about health with them. It's not really about skill, but them playing against Curry, who seems very, very determined, it's going to be difficult to make it out of that. Even though it's just one game potentially, like for them to play, it's still going to be very hard. Like, it's not going to be easy. And I think I've seen something where the Warriors have only beat them once this year. And the another 2 times that they played them, AD wasn't even playing, and they still won by a fairly large margin. And that's the only team that was able to blow the Warriors out by a large margin all year. So the Lakers, more or less, and also when it comes to them being worried, it's more about like guys that like LeBron, because LeBron's ankle injury, he's still obviously feeling the effects of his ankle injury, to the extent of it that he actually hurt it. I have no idea. I think they said it was like an ankle sprain, but it looks like it's more than a sprain, the way he moves sometimes. So just from a perspective of, he's had to play that game, potentially if they win. Like, he has to play one game if they win. He's locked in. Then you got to play another 4-game series. Obviously, Bron's probably going to be prepared and built for that many games, 7 games over that span of time. But imagine if they were to lose, and then they have like another chance to get. I think they have another chance to get in. I forgot the whole breakdown of how this tournament works, but I think it's like they can either win and just go straight through, or they can lose a game and potentially play again to get it's a very confusing, well, at least to me, it's a very confusing structure. But I feel like that's the main thing they really have to worry about, is monitoring his minutes and making sure that he's not overexerting his energy. Because Bron's probably going to give you a good easy, he's going to give you a 20, 25, 12 game, real light. If you're blowing him out, sit him down. Like, you don't have to keep him in there. You take your chances with that at that point. Like, he's done enough. That's pretty much what it will boil down to. And it'd be interesting to see what they do with LeBron's minutes playing wise, because I don't think anybody this year like looked at the rosters or looked at the even the records at the beginning of the year. I think the Lakers were like literally top five, and then Braun being hurt and AD being hurt dropped them all the way down to 8. So that just shows how quickly things can change, and hopefully they're probably still gonna rally through, because it's the Lakers. People love the Lakers. People have a lot of faith in the Lakers, so that should be a really interesting path. And then we get to the man, the possible MVP of this year, also with Jokic, Steph Curry, who's just, I don't know what Curry's on. Like Curry's on a different level as of right now, and I feel like he's playing the best basketball I think in his entire career. And that's saying a lot, because he has a unanimous MVP season under his belt, where a lot of people even also said then like he was playing out of his mind. But when you look at this year and what he's able to, like, not even to put these other guys down, but what a team consisting of Andrew Wiggins, a rookie in James Wiseman, Kent Bazemore, Michael Mulder, like Damian Lee. Like, there's a lot of players that you kind of look at this roster and you're just like, they're winning games. And it's not even like, yeah, like not even like to disrespect them, but it's like they're winning games and they're beating teams. Like they beat the Jazz, they beat the Suns. Like they're beating teams that are literally, they've been stomping people out all year. And these teams are dragging out nail biters, and it's based off of what Curry has been able to provide for them. Like he's been dropping 30, 40, 50, all threes, just shimmying and going berserk. And it's one of those things where I feel like this season was needed for him to really kind of let it be known that and even then, like, this was kind of already set, because Clay, Draymond, obviously those are like the core three of the Warriors, but a lot of people end up having that weird like mentality that KD made the Warriors for the years that he was, for the season that he was there, and it was always confusing to me, because I'm like, Curry is literally all three of the guys over there before him are literally their own player. Like they all bring their own sauce to the table, and Curry literally had the potential to go for 30 and 40, 50, and did a couple of times, I think, back then with Kevin Durant. But he was a team player and wanted to share the camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? But this season kind of just says that, like, even with just Draymond being there, like without Clay, he's putting the team quote unquote on his back. He's putting the team on his back. He's really just going out there shooting. And that's really all they asked him to do. I think that's pretty much really like they wanted him to be aggressive, which is basically shooting that dang ball. That's as aggressive as it's gonna get, or that's as aggressive as you can possibly want him to be. And he's making ridiculous shots. He's flicking the ball over the backboard. He's doing some Curry stuff, like some stuff that really you can only look at it and be like, the only person that's coming close to that a little bit is Luka. Because I've seen Luka throw the ball like couple feet in the air and just go through all net, or it's like he's doing floaters from the 3-point line. And I don't know where they're getting this from, but just to reiterate the whole Jokic thing, I do believe Jokic will probably be the MVP, but based off of just how unreal Curry has been this year, I wouldn't even be mad at seeing another Curry MVP year. It would be rare, or it would be tough for him to win, depending on how the voting goes. Because I'm pretty sure, like the way it's looking is probably Jokic, Embiid, Curry. Giannis is still up there, because Giannis has been not quiet off of his stats, but just quiet off the Bucks as a whole. Chris Paul might sneak up in there. I seen Rudy Gobert when I was looking up the voting stuff like that. Like Rudy Gobert's like ninth. So it's gonna be a very somewhat like very predictable top three if you look at like how they're probably gonna map it out to like who's the runner up, who's third. But it's really anybody's race when it comes to MVP. So should be all around a really interesting award period anyway, because there's a lot of awards that could really go either way. Like even Rookie of the Year, you got with Rookie of the Year, is it Anthony Edwards or is it LaMelo? You got with Defensive Player of the Year, is it Bam Adebayo or is it Ben Simmons? There's a lot of like what ifs or just a lot of people that's really been playing really well this year, and it's starting to show with the award races because I think even TJ McConnell is up there for Defensive Player of the Year. Like players are actually like showing up that did never were in contention for awards in the past. So really, the NBA has been really good this year. Like just for the surprises, the shocks, just from an all around perspective, that's a really good season they put together. In the playoffs, obviously, right around the corner, probably around the hour, so or around a couple hours. So still a lot more basketball left to be seen. But that'll be it for episode 2. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.